I think that is an excellent segue, pardon self, to jump into the DeLorean, Natalie, and let's go back
Okay, that's how I know
before.
you're from my era when you're using terminologies.
We gotta paint as a vivid picture as we possibly can. So I like to use those kind of
Yeah,
references so people can think, what on earth
yeah,
is this gentleman talking about?
yeah.
So let's go back. Let's go back to before um we were a BBC presenter and before SWV and stuff. Where did we grow up? And where was we born and raised?
Born in Birmingham, in a place called Selly Oak Hospital, and then we lived in Birmingham till I think I was around 2.5. We were in a block of flats. We were quite high up, and I think it was one day my mom and dad came out, and I think I'd been on the balcony, but I was trying to squeeze through the gaps in the balcony. I can't remember what floor we were on, like the 11th or 13th or something. And I think as soon as my mom and dad, not to say my parents were neglectful by the way,
Hmm.
but just in terms of, sort of as kids can be, one minute they're there, the next minute, where's she gone? And yeah, I think when they saw that, they sort of came out and said, no, we can't, we can't have this. So they went to Wolverhampton, and then started to look for some places. And then we moved to a place called Penderford in Wolverhampton, like I said, when I was about 2.5, 3. And we've been in Wolves ever since. Obviously, I was there till I was about 6, and then we live where I live now with the family. And yeah, so born and bred in Birmingham, but grew up in Wolves. But again, I've had stints, and I split my time between the Midlands and London.
So
So I'm sort of to and fro all the time.
so would you class yourself as a Brummie or Black Country?
That's a good question. Do you know what?
That
That's
big
a good
smile.
question. I am. Oh no. I don't know what's the right answer here, because I don't want to offend certain people. I mean, I'm a Brummie, born and bred, and plus as well because I mean I got into property when I was sort of 18, so I've lived in Birmingham, worked in Birmingham for years, and all that kind of stuff. Still got a property that I've got tenants and stuff in now.
Mhm.
So I would still say Brummie, because I was born in Birmingham, but um, Wolves is in my blood. So
Mm.
it's difficult for me to be able to sort of give a specific, but I'd have to say I'm a Brummie. I'm a Brummie. Or can I not just say I'm a proud Midlander?
No, well, I guess I think we can combine all
He said
three of
no.
them. Well, let's be diplomatic. I think we can
No.
combine. We combine them actually. We can combine them because you were born in Birmingham, which makes you a Brummie. You've moved to Wolverhampton,
Yeah.
which makes you Black Country, and
Yeah.
that is within the West Midlands region. So yes, we can go with all three. Let's just leave it as
All right.
that.
Thanks.
So coming from growing up in a musical household, um,
Yeah.
what was that like? Have your mother being the successful singer, songwriter that she was?
Or
Because I,
is.
well,
She's still going.
yes, well, yes, let me correct that. Yes, is not past tense.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was great, but it was also it was kind of my norm. Um, I mean, she was always. My mum was gigging while I was, while she was sort of 8.5 months pregnant with me,
Mm,
and it's something that, again, like you said, I was born into. My mum and dad met at school, so they've been together since they were sort of 13 and 14, and it was my dad that sent off for my mum's first ever audition. When she was 17, he just saw an ad in a paper. He used to hear her singing around the house and all that kind of stuff,
wow.
and he just sent off for the audition. She got the gig, and so when she eventually got spotted, which was I think in about 83, so I was 2. And again, at the time, I think it was just before we actually moved to Wolves, she got spotted and signed to EMI.
BMI.
Yeah, and I mean, she just, she had the hit with "Could It Be I'm Falling in Love,"
Hmm.
which she did as a duet, which is obviously a cover of the wonderful Detroit Spinners. But most people actually sort of are more familiar now with Mom and sort of David's version as to the original. But like I said, it was normal for me. yeah, it was weird as well when we first moved to Wolverhampton, because even when I went to sort of nursery, my mum and dad remind me now that there used to be, I'm sort of, 4 or 5 years old, and you've got sort of 16, 17, 18-year-olds knocking on the door saying, oh, is Natalie there, please? This is genuine. Is Natalie there, please? And my dad's like, well, yeah, who are you? Because whether they've seen me over at with mom over at Sainsbury's, or they've just watched to see,
Yes.
that's where she lives. So it was all a bit odd in that sense, but again, it was normal for me. I think if anything, I'd be staying at friends' house. My mom had a performance on, I don't know, Top of the Pops or something. I'd be staying with friends for the night, and then they'd shout and say, oh, Natalie, your mom's on TV. I'd be like, yeah, okay, and then I'd just carry on playing. It's just,
all right.
I live with my mom. I don't know what she looks like. I know what she sounds like. So I didn't really have the necessity to have to watch to go and drop my, I say my Little Ponies or Transformers or my Star Wars toys. I had a little
Care
bit of a mix
Bears.
of everything. Yeah, Care Bears. I had the Care Bears too. But yeah, so it's just I was more interested in playing. So again, it was just normal. I was, my mom was still strict with me, and like I said earlier on, and it's just I wasn't one of those that could get away with stuff. I was just, I still had to be very, very well behaved. I think it was more so when I got into my junior schools and my senior schools, then the kind of can't really say the backlash, but that's where you started to pick up on people's envy and jealousy. Because of the fact that, do you know what I mean? Yeah, if mom had been on the TV the night before or whatever, and as well, because I went to private school, and in my private schools, you're talking about I was sort of one of maybe 2, 3 black kids in the whole school. So there was that kind of element as well. There was the mix of the racial elements alongside the jealousy of mom and who mom was. So it was strange when it came to school. That was kind of
So how did you what was how then that's quite interesting. That is, how did you navigate? Because I guess especially for where you was in Wolverhampton at that time, in a private school at that era as well, that must have been very tricky, because I know, just for myself growing up at that, at that period, it was very tricky within the education system, never mind being in a totally different sort of setting in that respect. So how can you kind of navigate, paint that picture for us?
Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for my my education and everything, and I had all my elocution lessons, which is probably one of the reasons I don't have a staunch Brummie or Black Country accent, and again, because I've been quite worldly and being able to travel. But school was interesting for me. I was can I say I was clever? I suppose I was clever. I was one of these, I always did enough. I didn't sort of go over and above. I always got good grades, my A's and my B's and all that kind of stuff. But I was just, I was, I could be a bit of a joker. I was always, I was always the one for the underdog. I hated to see people getting bullied. And I think because I was on the receiving end, in my junior school, I had things like, whether it's chewing gum put in my brand new trainers, stuff with just not very nice things that were said. And I would tend to find that the teachers would not, they wouldn't, I don't want to say jump to my defense, but they wouldn't really pull up the kids who were the instigators of things like this. So that, there's a fair few occasions where I've sort of gone home and, been a little bit in my shell and reserved, and straight away my dad would pick me up and he'd be like, what's the matter? Like, nothing. Is this what's happened? And I'll say, oh, this happened today, or again, chewing gum in my trainers. The amount of times that my dad, my poor little white Irish daddy, was up at the school fighting for me, and he grew up with that as well, as a sort of as a white guy going through Handsworth to go and see my mom and all that kind of stuff. So they've been through it. So I think the fact that they'd had so many experiences before I'd even arrived, and the fact that he was now having to sit there and think, hold on a minute, we've been through this as adults. I'm not having this happen to my child. So he's been up the school on many occasions. He's got a little bit hands-on, shall we say, at certain points with even headmasters, because the headmasters aren't doing it, just shrugging up. I was like, well, what's the problem? No, not with my dad. That's like a red rag to a bull.
We need
So
resolutions. Yeah.
say again.
We need
Yes, exactly.
resolutions.
But yes, and my dad was always one of these. Probably shouldn't say this, but he would always say, listen, if anyone does anything or says anything to you when you're at school, especially when it came to the colour side of things, he would just say, he said, just give them a smack. Dad, I can't do that. I'll get into trouble with the teachers. And he'd just say, never mind your teachers. I'll deal with the teachers and I'll deal with the parents as well. So never mind them. He said, be more worried about what I'll do if you don't stick up for yourself than sticking up for yourself at school. And I think once I knew that I had, that doesn't mean to say, by the way, I didn't go around beating people up
of
at school.
course.
But it was just, I think just knowing that, right, it kind of gave me that extra level of confidence to know that I can defend myself when I need to. And as long as my mom and dad are okay with it, then I'm good. And I think that's where I kind of started to come into my own a little bit more. Like I said, sticking up for the underdogs where I could, because I was one of them.
Yes.
And yeah, so it was interesting. I had some close friends at school. It wasn't really, I'm not, you get people who turn around and say, oh yeah, school days, best days of your life. Just I'm not one that sort of looks back and thinks that. It's just not, it's not something that I look back and think, yeah, school was great. Like I said, very grateful for the experience. I think without the experience of school, I wouldn't be sort of part of the way that I am today. Grateful for the education. Yeah, that's kind of, that is what it is. I wasn't an angel, but then are we all?
We're growing, aren't we? We're growing and we're learning as youngsters and young adults.
Exactly that.
All part of it. What was some of your favorite lessons at school?
English.
Literature?
English literature. Yeah. Loved English literature. I loved Shakespeare. And just sort of writing, being able to sort of, write your own stories, reading. If there was ever, you've got certain people, I hate reading in class. No, if there was anyone to read, I'd be like, yeah, me. So English was definitely one of my favorite subjects. I was good at maths. I wouldn't say it was my favorite subject. And then if anything, sports, English and sports.
So was you on the girls hockey team?
Hockey, netball, cross country, lower school sort of cross country champion or junior cross country champion, high jumper. I was good at long jump as well, but I hated it because the sand just gets
the sand element.
The sand. Didn't like swimming at school. I love swimming now. I love swimming, but I didn't like swimming at school because the hair. Yeah, the hair back then. I wasn't going in with the plaits like this now. This is my winter hair. But no, the swimming, and especially because it would be in the morning, and then you just have to walk around with like the microphone head for the whole day, because I just couldn't. They wouldn't give you the time to be able to blow dry out your hair and get the hot comb and all that kind of stuff. So you're just walking around with a big bush head. And like I said, as one of the only black kids in the school at the best of times, she's just like, oh my gosh. So yeah.
And all that.
Wasn't a fan of swimming at school.
Do you remember the levels of chlorine which was in those swimming baths?
That too, yeah, no.
A good thing to obviously kill the whatever germs is in there, but the levels were just, I remember taking my niece swimming a few years back, and as soon as I opened the door from the changing room, I was hit with it literally took my breath away. I was like, whoa.
Dries out the skin as well so much.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, no.
It's not good for the old skin. Definitely not. So, okay. So your experience, you had an interesting education experience. And that's at junior school and secondary school. You went sixth form, I take it, as well?
I didn't go to sixth form, no, because I didn't particularly like the school.
Okay.
I left and went to a separate college in Shrewsbury called SCAT, Shrewsbury College of Arts and Technology.
I know it.
Yeah, but again, I did my year there, and then I transferred to Wolverhampton because, again, just certain racial experiences that I had at the likes of SCAT, it just got to the point where I just thought, you know what, I'd rather let me get closer to home and
I was going to say,
Shrewsbury wasn't on for battling on a day in, day out.
Yeah, that is a totally, we're talking remote. it's quite, well, I wouldn't say it's quite different now. It's different, but it's still a very remote
Mm.
place. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And what did you do in regards to the study? Was you going down a
Media
biz
studies.
media? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I had the chance to, if I wanted to sort of stay on at sixth form, I could have done. But again, like I said, it was a private school, and there was nothing that I wanted to study. I didn't want to go to university,
Hmm.
because again, back then, you know, all the things that I was interested in. I mean, I just wanted to get into music. I wanted to be a singer like my mom, and she always sort of said, no, not until you finish school, not until you finish college. Then go and get yourself a full-time job. You know, you don't want to be like me. You want to know where your money's. You know, you want to get a regular income. You want to know where your money's coming from, because you know we all know that the music industry can be very, very fickle, full of
Yes.
sharks. So she didn't want that for me. She wanted me to have much more stability. So I was never really interested in. I saw media studies, and because it covered sort of photography and
Mm.
you know, just media and all the different aspects that it dealt with. Then I thought, yeah, you know, I'll give that a go. And like I said, I transferred then to Wolverhampton College. But after that, I wasn't interested in going to university. Whereas now, I mean, even when I've got a younger brother, he's sort of 11 and a half years younger than me. But even when it came to him going to do the sort of the sixth form, or going to college, you had it's all things like access to music and university degrees now. It's sort of, you've got music management courses, and it's just,
Mm.
I'm sort of sitting there thinking, why did we never have any of this when I
Wow.
was growing up? But
Yeah.
even then, I mean, it's whether or not I would have chosen to go down that route. I don't know. But yeah, I think now, looking back, in fact, I don't know if I would have done it back then. But one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and even now, if I sort of had enough free time to do it, I've got a huge interest in psychology.
Me
I
too.
just love psychology, how the brain works, what
Hmm.
makes people tick, what drives them to sort of, you know, do the things that they do,
Yeah.
what sort of triggers them, what helps to sort of how the mind sort of shapes people. And like I said, it's something I think I've always sort of had a fascination for, just in terms of watching people. But as I've got older, it's just being able to sort of get to a level where you can really understand the psyche behind things. Then that's possibly not one regret, but that's something, like I said, there's still time for that as well. So in my own little way, I'm always sort of watching and reading my little bits and bobs to
Mm.
try and sort of suss out people's
Inner
inner cogs of the
workings.
minds. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Have you checked out the Century of Now documentary?
No, I haven't.
I'll send you a link once we've finished,
Okay.
and I'll potentially put a link below as well. That would cover a little bit of what you've just overviewed there. It
Okay.
goes into the psychology behind marketing and
Mm,
voting, etc., etc. It's a
okay.
very interesting one. Very interesting one.
No, definitely, I'll check that out.
So as we're growing up in
Mm,
under your mother and father, and
hmm
your mother is a successful singer and stuff. What was happening in regards to, you've alluded to obviously at school,
mm,
um, were people when once you was getting older into your teenage,
yeah.
were people trying to maybe connect with you because they knew who you was? Were you getting kind of people kind of latch on because they knew who you were?
Um, Not at school. I think if anything, it would be people outside of school that I would experience that with. And then, you know, that's when I'd start getting the talks from mom and dad, just to sort of say, listen, be careful who your friends are.
Hmm.
Make sure that your friends are friends with you for you, and not because they think of it for what they think I've got, or because of who mom is. I mean, again, going back to school, I was I say sort of the black sheep, I suppose almost in the literal sense. But yeah, it was. I mean, you had some very well-to-do people as well at my school, sort of from sort of wealthy families and everything. But yeah, I think there's certain people that probably wanted to be even more friends with me than what they were at school, but their parents had sort of advised them, especially when, because I didn't have sort of boyfriends at school.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one time I did get a boyfriend at school, I ended up going off on tour with my mom and dad to Japan for I think it was like 6 weeks. Came back and he dumped me to go out with somebody else, and he said, no, the only reason I went out with you was as an experiment.
Wow.
To see what it was like to go out with a black girl. And then he said his friends, mom and dad, had turned around and said to him, oh no, you can't go out with Natalie because mixing a black and a white is like mixing a cat and a dog. You don't do it.
What?
So it's just like, yeah. So yeah, it wasn't really like that at school in terms of, even regardless of who mom was,
Wow.
it didn't get me any extra kudos. So I think that's one of the reasons as well at school why I like to think I'm quite funny, so I've been told, but I think I ended up having to use sense of humor as almost like a defense mechanism.
Yes.
Because I was always the ugly one, because I was black. So it was sort of strange. But then, like I said, outside of school, there were certain people, I think, not necessarily even outside of school, but I think that's more so as I've got older. So that would be sort of late teens and going into my early 20s in terms of people, especially if they're familiar, obviously, with mom's music. They're like, oh my God, Jaki Graham's daughter. So that's when you'd start to get people sort of trying to latch on. And for me, because I'm a very sort of open and sort of warm and giving person, I've sort of like my mom and dad in that sense. Then that was a life lesson in my sort of 20s, is being able to differentiate between the real from the fake. There were ones who were just sort of the hangers on, or who were just around because, you know, they want something.
And as you say, it can be quite difficult to ascertain, or well, to figure out who is who, because some people can be very, very cunning, and they can put an act on for literally 3 to 4 years, even for sometimes 10 years, and you get to the 11th year anniversary and you're like, oh my God, is that what it was all about?
Yeah. I didn't see that one coming. Should have seen it coming, but no, that one sort of just missed me. So yes.
Interesting. So you've definitely gone through some experiences which has created and fortified the character, which is now today the Natalie Graham.
It is trying to be. I don't know. Well, like I said, I'm just I'm just me. I don't know whatever way to describe it. I'm a big kid. Anyone who knows me well, they're just like, yeah, Natalie, she's a bit of a joker, and I love kids. Don't have my own yet, but hopefully will one day. But yeah, I'm a big kid, so it's because of a lot of the life experiences and some of the heavier things that I've gone through. I am just one of these. It's just a case of just listen. You know, you never know how long you've got. You've got to appreciate what you do have now, and enjoy the time with the people that you love and you care about, who are the genuine souls that you've got in your life. But at the same time, I'm almost like a bit of a chameleon, because I have got so many different hats, even within sort of business and everything. So I know that there's certain people, it's like when they first heard me on the radio, certain people that I do business with, they just sort of turn around and they're like, oh my God, Natalie, you sound so nice. So well, what do you mean? I sound so nice. And I'm like, I am nice. And I'm like, yeah, but you just like sound soft and nice. And it's like, but again, within business, for me, business is business. I'm still nice within business, but I think because I'm very black and white, I don't like grey, that's what she says, but it's one of my favorite colors to wear. But I don't, what's the best way to put it? If something happens, if I make a mistake, and this is something that one of the biggest lessons I've always had from my dad. My dad has always said that, listen, there's sort of two things in life. You never want to be a liar, you never want to be a thief, because once you're tarnished with that, then that's it. It will stick with you for life. And he says, if ever you make a mistake, he said, just own your mistakes, because you will always get a lot more respect for putting your hands up and saying, do you know what, that was my fault, than if you just sit there and sort of, either don't apologize or have some kind of accountability for your part in something. And accountability is one of my favorite words as well. But yeah, so that's a big lesson that I learned from from my dad is just within business, that if something goes wrong when it comes to dealing with people, I'm like, listen, don't just do the whole the ostrich treatment, bury your head in the sand, and then you can't get hold of people because they just don't want to tell you what's going on. I will call people out if I need to. I'm never rude. I don't, never rude, never rant. I'm not a rant and raver and all that kind of stuff, but I will call people out and say, listen, what's going on? Deal with the issue, and then you can put it to bed. It's like business is business. You just okay, we've dealt with that. And you move on. It's not something you have to sit there and dwell on. And likewise, if I make a mistake, then I will, I'll put my hands up and say, do you know what? That was my fault. And I think when you do that with people as well, it catches them so off guard because they're not used to it, that they sort of, when you can sit there sometimes and when you're going to speak to someone and you just wind yourself up and you're like, right, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, and then if they turn around and say this, I'm going to turn around and say that, and you've got the whole conversation already mapped out, and then as soon as you turn around and say, sorry, do you know what, my fault, I can only apologize. What are we going to do? Right, that's the problem. I'm part of the reason for the problem. What can we do now to fix it? Then people are kind of like, oh, wasn't expecting that. Right, okay, well let's get to the resolution for this. So it's just
but I
am nice.
We can see
but like
that.
I said, I've got different sides, and when it comes to business, and especially when it comes to the likes of my mom as well, because she is my mom, then I don't stand for any mess. And I've seen so many things that have gone on in terms of how she's being treated, how she's being ripped off, sort of disrespected, sort of stepped on throughout her career, despite the fact that she is a true pioneer as well for the whole not just Black British music scene, but the British music scene. So she's an integral part of sort of British musical history. And at the same time, that's also my mama. So I don't play.
Don't play no games.
My dad calls me I'm either the pit bull or the Rottweiler, depending on what he'll be like, Natalie, you go and speak to them and deal with this, because he'll lose his temper. So I've kind of got the balance of the niceness from my mom and the diplomacy from my mom, but then at the same time I've also got the bite from my dad, where it's like, okay, I can do that, but don't make me switch if I don't have to.
Definitely. I mean that's unfortunately, as you've highlighted there, the majority of people do want to stick their head in the ground in the sand when it comes to business. They don't want to be upfront, honest, have accountability. As you say, if something's happened wrong, then it's you've made a mistake.
Own it.
This is it.
We all make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn from them, and you don't grow, as you mentioned, as we spoke about earlier on.
So a hint to the wise should be more than sufficient.
Exactly that.
Yes. So let's change levels a little bit. Spiritual or religious wise, what did we grow up as, and what are we now?
Christian Catholic, but I am not particularly religious. I mean, I say my prayers before I go to bed every night. I believe that everybody has the right to believe in whatever or whoever they want to. I do also believe that to a certain extent, there's a lot of sort of religions that kind of, in their own way, are sort of almost, how do I say, not worshipping, but looking up to the same things. I mean, whether it's the universe, God, Allah, Jehovah, whoever it may be, everybody's got the right to believe in what they like. But I consider myself to be a very spiritual person. And I mean, like I said, I've got all my crystals. If anything, I've got all my Buddhas. I burn my sage and my incense, and I do my smudging in the full moons and new moons and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a big believer in energy. Huge believer in energy, and that positives bring positives, negatives bring negatives, that there is something bigger than us for all of this to sort of exist. What that something is, I don't know, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whatever it may be, I don't know, but like I said, I believe that everybody's got the right to whatever they find comfort in. Then each to their own. But yeah, I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm drawn to and also repelled on the odd occasion by energies. very sort of sensitive to things on that front.
So I'll go in reverse. I've got two on the back of that. So reference your last statement. Are you saying that, for instance, you enter a room and you'll greet certain people, and then you'll greet a certain person, and you will just feel that person is off, kind of thing, or there's something not kind of right?
I'm very, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll still greet everybody in a
Yes.
warm and welcoming way, but
Hmm.
you can sense it, you
Hmm.
can sense it instantly if someone's got a vibe about them,
Yeah.
because again, you're going to make me go all onto my geeky levels now, but
Get
yeah,
into it.
I'm a big believer of vibrations, your vibrations that you vibrate on, and your frequency.
Hmm.
And I think that we all vibrate on a certain level, some sort of, higher or lower than others. And you must, I mean, everybody's had it. You meet someone, and when you can't quite put your finger on, it's like something's off. I
Hmm.
don't know what it is, but something's off. Then that's, there's an energy there that, that you're picking up on. Or I mean, even if it comes to phone calls, how many times have you sat there and you might think about someone and think, oh, do you know what? I've got to give them a call. And then, an hour later or the next day, you hear from that person, it's like, do you know what? I was just thinking about it. I was thinking about you too. It's as silly as it sounds.
It's
There is
Natalie.
definitely something in it.
That
I know people are going to be sitting there thinking, what is she talking about? But
that
I know there's
is
just as many thinking that's me. Happens to me all the time.
Natalie, that is far from silly. That is far from silly. And I'm pretty sure the people who know, and the people who don't know, as you say, will be like, what on earth? But even I'm pretty sure that you can bear witness to this point, that you can, even maybe yesterday or the day before, you can think of someone, and within a second, within a minute, that your phone is ringing and you're
Yeah,
saying, I was literally just about to
yeah,
call you, or I was thinking about you.
yeah.
Whether you want to call it telepathy, whether, it's that,
It's
forget the
something.
labels, something's
Yeah.
happening where you, as a, take the physiology out of it, you as a spiritual being are connecting with
Mm,
another spiritual being, and based upon that, the connection has been made. And then what you
yeah.
then do on a physical level is then you utilize the technology to make that physical connection, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree and can concur. Have
Yeah.
experienced said things. I've noticed you have on your, if correct me if I'm wrong, you've got quartz crystals, is that? And on your
My
ears?
quartz ring.
Yeah.
No, that's actually right.
Okay.
Very perceptive. It's actually amethyst. I've got amethyst. All right, okay, here we go. You're opening up a big can of worms
Yeah.
here. So I've got my amethyst earrings. I've got
Hmm.
my quartz ring.
Yes.
I've got my labradorite bracelet. It's either
Okay.
that or my rose quartz bracelet. I've got all my tumblestones. I sleep with a couple of again.
Have you got
Oh, my
hematite on
friends
your
laugh
on
at
your
me.
chain on your chain as
You
well? Is
know
that
what I did have? It's not, no. There's some little. I forgot about this one as well. I've got some tiger's eye, like little arrowheads. I think there's some obsidian on this one.
obsidian? That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sleep with some crystals under my pillows. I've got my quartz ring because I got fed up. I always used to have a piece of usually rose quartz that I wore in my bra, but it
Yeah.
would stretch
I know.
every
It'll
now and
start to.
again. It would drop out. The crystal, I mean.
Yes.
But so yeah, I just got to the point where I was fed up of just losing crystals or hearing, and I thought, oh, one day it's going to smash. And I thought I
Mm.
saw this in my favourite crystal shop, Penny Farthings in Wolverhampton, brilliant. And I thought, you know what a great thing to have. So
Yes.
yeah, and like I said, my friends, they all laugh at me. I'm a Cancerian, so I love the moon, the stars, all that
Mm.
kind of stuff. And they're all laughing at me. They're like, Natalie, you and these crystals, or you and your sage smudging. But then you come Christmases or birthdays and you get them a little tumblestone, or
This is
the
it.
amount of people that are just like, Natalie, when's the full moon? When have I got to manifest again? Or when have I
Yeah.
got to put my crystals out? So it's like, you see, you're not
Uh,
laughing at me now, are you? So
they,
there's, yes,
they're
brings an
catching on.
element of comfort to a lot of people.
Almost definitely. And I mean, even, I mean, a similar story I can say I gave somebody, I won't mention their name, but I gave someone many, many years back, a jade, a Buddha.
Nice. Meant to bring is it luck and prosperity or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I gave them the instructions what to do, to cleanse it, charge it,
Yeah.
and program it.
Yeah.
And they were so excited. They did it for the first time, and I said, regular intervals, you need to repeat this process, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I saw them maybe a few months later, and that Buddha was in the kitchen covered in grease. He was right next to the cooker. I was like, that's not going to do you much help.
Other than maybe making you some of your meals taste extra tasty, that's probably about it. You got to show the Jade Buddha some love. Come on now. Come on
Definitely.
now. No, all because I've got some beautiful amethyst cathedrals, citrine, all that kind of stuff, and basically every full moon they go outside,
Yeah.
sort of wash them all off, and then especially when it's raining and the weather's like it is now, but just to get the sort of the natural elements.
Yes.
And like I said, I smudge the whole house. I smudge my parents, my dad's, and most of the time he's like, what now? And he just like says, like living in a flipping commune around here, because literally the whole house, you just have to sort of try and park the smoke as he's coming in to watch his westerns or whatever he's watching on the day. And then I'll go around with I've got a little Tibetan singing bowl as well, so I'll go around after I've done all of that, and then just to sort of again level out all the vibrations and the frequencies, and especially at the minute with everything that's going on with the pandemic, it's just, listen, whatever I can do to try and I'm like, listen, whatever works for you, do you, but this is something that works for me. And because I've got so many people's energy as well coming at me while I'm on the radio, it's just, I just need something sometimes to just feel like I've kind of cleansed. So yeah, that's, like I said, that's my kind of geeky little way of doing it, but I like it, and they look pretty too. So what can you say?
Well, look, these are precious, or well, semi-precious, depending on how you value it personally. I mean, what is a diamond? It's the same thing. What is an onyx? It's these are minerals that are from the earth. It's the fact that some clever marketing genius said, we're gonna say that diamonds are for women, and they're good for engagements and for weddings, and diamonds are girls' best friends, and basically hugely doubled the value of what diamonds are in comparison to anything else. They could have picked an onyx and did exactly the same thing. It's all perception.
I love the fact that you know this as well, though.
These are all valuable tools, and tools are to be used but for people. If you know how to use them, if you've been given the instructions, you can utilize that tool properly. If you haven't been given the instructions, then you might not yield the results that you want from said tool.
Yeah, no, completely. And yeah, like I said, when it comes to using for sort of, manifesting, I try and sort of manifest as much as I can for the people around me. But I'm a big believer that words are matter, and whatever you speak and you put out there into the big wide world, then that's why, again, that sort of positives bring positives, negatives bring negatives, because if you're just constantly spouting all this negative, then that's just, that's what you're feeding your surroundings. So yeah, no, I love all my little feel good trinkets. It's just my little, one of, that's another
hats. And very lastly, on the crystals, do you have your little pouch full of your crystals that you carry with you? You don't do the pouches?
No, because I've got this, and like I said, because I've got the jewelry. Then generally, no, I did used to, but that's why I just have it all laid out so that my space and my switching off space is just nice and zen. And then, like I said, I wear the other crystals, and sort of, so I've got this. I've got, like I said, I've got one that's it's a nice rose quartz bracelet. I've got some moldavite and is it Herkimer diamond earrings as well. So yeah, just depending on the mood will then depend on what kind of crystals I'll be wearing that day.
Totally. Okay. And have you gone any further? You've spoken about crystals. Have you looked into, or are you practicing Reiki or anything like that?
Love Reiki. I've got Reiki and reflexology. I absolutely love it. And my at the start of all the lockdown, my reflexologist, who also did Reiki, she's in her 70s now. Wow. So she's sort of taken this time to basically retire, but she's like a Reiki master. She donkey's years. And just before all of this, she said, Natalie, she said, it's not something that I would normally do, but I want to teach you Reiki, because I've been told I'm quite a sort of a spiritual person, and yeah, I've just that I've got some, not some healing gifts, but through my positivity that I can, yeah, that I've got something. So she wanted to teach me, but like I said, the pandemic kicked in, and just as I was about to start some sessions on that front, then as it's obviously had a bit of a halt put on that. But yeah, no, I'm a big believer in Reiki, most definitely. Again, energy. It's all about energy. It's really huge. People really do underestimate. And it's just, as you know, as you go along, and even as I'm getting older, there's certain people who I love dearly and always will, but it's just, I don't know whether it's just, again, that sort of growth process where you kind of find yourself growing apart from certain people, because their energy is either still in a certain place, or it just doesn't, you're not on that same frequency anymore.
Yes. Well, I've noticed, and I've highlighted for quite some time now, for maybe 5 years, especially within the male remit. A lot of males are they're just in arrested development. They don't want to come out of being a young adult, and then this is going to people even in their 50s.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we serious? You're 50 something years old, and you're talking, acting, and like there's no real difference. I can't see any progression. I can't see any growth. Like, what are we actually doing? It's like you're stuck in time. You're stuck in 1990 or something.
I think I saw, who was it? It was I think it was Snoop. I don't know if you've seen it. Snoop was chatting with, I want to say, ASAP Rocky. And there's a conversation that they were having about this exact kind of topic. And Snoop was basically saying about when he was sort of first coming up, and the amount of people that he wanted to, you want to bring people with you if you know things are starting to go well, you want to bring all your people through, and so on and so forth. And there's people, even if when it came to certain family members, and you just want to see them do well, and if if he was in a position to be able to put someone else on because he's got to a certain level now, he's like, listen, that's my boy, I'm on it. But then there's a certain mentality within certain people where they were stuck. They were still here. They couldn't see the benefits of growing themselves. They just thought, oh, we've got all this now, and not realizing that no, you have to evolve. You got to change gear.
Yes.
And it was almost like a kind of not like a father-son chat, but or like some mentoring chat that he was having. I'm sure it was ASAP Rocky, and because ASAP Rocky was saying the same thing, that there's people, and you could hear that there was almost like a guilt when it comes to that feeling of having to sort of say, do you know what, I've got no choice now, because I am evolving and I am moving on, and I can see the bigger picture, and it's not just where we grew up and this mentality that we had here. The world is a much bigger place. The guilt that they felt for sort of almost having to leave these people behind and let them go, because if they weren't ready to jump on that train and sort of evolve, not necessarily with these people, but themselves as individuals, then they were kind of saying there wasn't any more that they could do to help them. They were always going to be in that area and stuck in that kind of cycle. And I just like I said, if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth having I mean, I'm a Snoop fan anyway. It's my first Doggy Style first album, or first hip hop album that I ever bought, sitting there writing out all the lyrics and everything. So I'm a big Snoop fan. But it was just fascinating to watch and fascinating to hear as well, because I think people, when it comes to sort of certain levels of fame, people are sort of desperate for the fame, but they don't necessarily realize the level of commitment, and sometimes sacrifice for what you know best that has to come with it.
Yes, and the higher the level of fame you attain and notoriety, the less of a normal life you can lead even.
Yeah.
There's no just pop into Tesco's or to Waitrose for something without a mob of people asking for autographs and those kind of things. It's a trade-off. It's like a lot of the youth today are infatuated. It seems like that they see their only way of success is to be some kind of entertainer in some kind of remit.
Or even influencer now. That's,
Well,
there's people, we were talking about jobs and things earlier on, and sort of what people are looking at thinking, right, what's my career path? Even the youngsters, pre-teens that I know, just like, oh yeah, I want to be an influencer when I'm older. And you're just like, wow, this is just it's but it's a real thing. And I mean, it pays off for so many people. So, fair play to them. If people have been able to sort of carve a lane out for themselves in that, then, I'd take my hat off to them, because it can't be easy. But yeah, it's just it's just strange. It's like you're what's this specific talent that that you're famous for, and you've got people, I think the word celebrity is something that can get bandied around very easily nowadays, and it doesn't really, for me personally, it doesn't necessarily carry as much weight now as what it did back in the day, when whether it was people like your Prince, or I don't know,
Michael Jackson's,
your Tina Turners, even your Madonnas, and all this kind of people. I mean, there's people as well that I've grown up listening to that aren't necessarily the best singers or anything in the world, but they, in terms of entertainers, they make great entertainers, and they've sort of earned that kind of celebrity status. Whereas now, it seems like it just comes very easily. And people don't necessarily have to work quite as hard.
Well, you've highlighted it all there very succinctly, because it's back in the days when there was real celebrities. You were known for singing, acting. You had to do something, and if you didn't do something, like for instance, the former president, or whether that's whatever was going on over there, he was known for being a business person. He was a celebrity based upon his business, quote unquote, prowess. So outside of that, then we moved to the was it the early 90s, mid 90s with Big Brother, and then we started getting all these Z-listers and all this kind of weird stuff. Like a Z-list celebrity. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You either a celebrity or you're not a celebrity. It's as simple as that.
I think that's when it opened up the world of that's sort of when reality TV really became a thing, and it was kind of that reality TV celebrity that then started to sort of cross over. So that probably would have been the start of a lot of it.
Definitely. It's very interesting times. I mean, as you say, for the people who can carve themselves out a career and be profitable in this technological age, more power to you. But I think my advice would be just to try and just slow it down a little bit, just a little bit, and just try and figure yourself out first. Who you are, and the accountability thing is very, very big for me as well. Very, very big. You've got influencers, you've got all these people who are in positions of power, and they're not necessarily doing things which are gonna incite anything of real good intentions of sorts. It's generally consumerism. That's all most people are promoting. Have a look at the red bottom shoes that I've got. Look at this AP watch, or it's all something. And for a youngster who's 16, who's in Alan Rock, for instance, who's got no real opportunity to financially be able to purchase these things in a legitimate way. What on earth do you think that person's going to do?
I think it's not even just that as well. It's sort of someone seeing who's wearing the newest or the freshest crepes or Yeezys or whatever it might be. And if people are out there and working hard, there's no lessons really being taught to say, well, hold on a minute, in terms of the money that you're making, it's great you going and buying out the next pair of trainers, but what about your saving to buy your own place, your own house? Or it's like you said, it's about leasing the cars. or just again, just that whole perception of the outside. And especially when it comes to the youngsters, they're just like, oh yeah, I've got to have that to stay on trend. I've got to have that to sort of stay cool. But it's like, who's teaching these people to actually build towards a future? And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to see. I mean, you've got a lot of the influence. I mean, even some of the people, not necessarily, I suppose, I don't really know if they're influencers. I watch people on YouTube and stuff that are talking about crystals, and it's all that side of things, but they've got a lot of followers.
Yes.
And, off the back of the followers and the money that can be made via the advertising on people's page and YouTube and so on and so forth, that they're able to go and buy a nice house off the back of it. It would be great to see a lot of these influencers start to sort of almost show that journey. I don't necessarily mean to do sort of an MTV crib style thing or anything, but just to show that, yes, I've been doing these videos or these silly videos or whatever it might be and got all these wonderful followers, but it's allowed me to set up X, Y, and Z, to show them that there's almost like there's an end goal.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not just putting out these videos because I want all the money that's coming in. Look what I'm actually doing for myself or for my family to establish and build some foundations, and using their platforms to be able to sort of educate on that level. That's the kind of thing that it would be nice to start seeing.
Definitely creating legacies and dynasties. This is what it's all about. I mean, we've got a certain section of the population who generationally that they're born into wealth with opportunities of having companies, starting companies, etc. They only got to that point by, again, somebody being astute enough to say, I'm going to concentrate on building a legacy and in turn building a dynasty. So when I'm gone, whoever's left within my immediate family, they can continue and to grow that even further. That's real wealth.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it's easy for people sit there and say about when it comes to influencers and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, you can't knock them because they've had an opening and an opportunity and they've ran with it, and good for them. And at the end of the day, that's the era that we're in now. It's as simple as that. It's not gonna change. I mean, in another 10 years time, what's going to be the flavor of the month then? There's always going to be something new that you sort of look at and think, really? But you just basically got to accept it and think, well, it's here now, it's here to stay. So let's see how the people run with this.
Definitely. So on that note, Natalie, have you got a TikTok account?
Nope.
Didn't think you
wouldn't
would.
Even know. No. Do you know what? One of my friends as well, bless her, my friend, the Hunger Rebel, she's a chef, wicked chef. And she said, Natalie, she said, you've got to get yourself a TikTok. I said, no. Even when it came to Snapchat, when Snapchat first came out, then people were like, Natalie, you've got to get Snapchat. And then I was like, right, okay, it's got great filters, this, that, and the other. And then so I downloaded it, and it's just like, used it for a while, but I was just like, no. If anything, it was when I went to go and see one of my best friends and his little girl. She's like, oh, can I get on your Snapchat? And we sit there taking the pictures with the little teddy bears and all this kind of stuff. But she knew how to use it better than what I did, and I'm just like, haven't got the time for that. So literally, I've got my Twitter, I've got my Instagram,
Facebook,
and then I've got my Facebook, which I hardly use, to be honest. I use my Facebook more so for just putting I'm on air tonight, tune in, blah blah blah, or anything like my mom's latest album, because I've executive produced a couple of her last albums as well, so that's one of the other things that I do. I use sort of Facebook as a
you can't just skip over that so quickly.
Listen, I'm not skipping. You've got all of this in my bio. Don't pretend like I've not told you any of this.
Yeah, but
You've got it all there.
This is the whole reason, Natalie, that you're here, mademoiselle.
You are going deep today. You are digging.
I'm digging, man.
Digging. You are joking.
I want them gemstones, man. I want them gemstones. So executive producing skills now. So let's unpack that for us, please.
Right. Well, what do you? I don't know what you want me to say on that front. It's just like, obviously I've said I manage my mom,
Yes.
and all right. So just because I know that you've got a big sort of US
Yes,
audience as well. So in
indeed.
case they're sitting there thinking, who is this? Who is this girl? And who's this Jackie Graham she keeps on mentioning? So my mom is a singer called Jackie Graham. That's Jaki. No C, no E. But she was basically one of the biggest selling Black British female solo artists of the 80s. She's in the Guinness Book of Records. She was the first Black British female solo artist to have 6 consecutive top 10 and 20 hits back in the day. She's also a Motown artist, and via a couple of releases that got put out through a couple of projects that she was involved with. She's had a #1 in the US Billboard dance charts for 5 weeks with her version of Shaka Khan's Ain't No Body. So my mom, she's done her thing. She's done her thing. She's earned her stripes more than what a lot of people will realize.
Yes.
But because of when she was sort of coming up through the industry, like I said, she signed to EMI back in the day, and they didn't know how to deal with a Black British female solo artist who could actually sing. I think they were used to sort of some of the gimmicks that were coming through at that point, or just people that just were very good singers. And the fact that my mom can blow, then they were like, we don't know where to put you. We don't know how to categorize you. We don't know how to style you. We don't know how to market you. They just they did not know. But so she's fought all sorts of things along the way, and then I got involved with management, sort of more so started sort of helping to book shows because I was fed up of agents just keeping her at sort of a certain level with her fees, and oh no, we can't get her any more money. And because I used to do IT recruitment, that's what I got into when I left college. And I don't know how, I'm rubbish with technology even to this day, but I was able to just be very good at what I was doing. I think people buy from people, so
exactly.
I got on well with my clients and my contractors, and ended up being very good at what I did. Was one of the top salespeople there, earned some very good money, which is what I was then able to use to get into property from the age of sort of 18 onwards, and bought my first few places. But I was always sort of, I thought I took my skills from sort of contract negotiations and all that kind of stuff that I learned in that world, and then started applying it to the music world. So I would start sort of, doing my little bits and bobs to sort of generate some bookings for mom, and I'd end up getting sort of double or 3 times, sometimes quadruple the amount that some of the agents that we're dealing with. And my mom's sitting there and saying to dad, saying, how is she managing to get all this? And, Tony, that's my dad, don't you think you should call and double check this? And my dad's like, no. He said, if she needs me, she will ask, because I've learned a lot. Most of my business acumen I've got from my dad. So I've got the creative side from my mom, because I also sing with her as well. So I'm one of her backing singers when she's out with the band. But I learned the business side from my dad, and my dad was like, no, if she needs my help, she will ask for it. I'm not going to undermine her like that. And then so I started booking shows and doing the contracts and so on and so forth, and was helping my dad with the management, because my dad sort of took over her main management when she left EMI back in the late 80s, early 90s. But then my dad wasn't very well. He had major heart failure a number of years back. And at that stage, he got to the point where he wasn't able to really travel with her to gigs and so on and so forth. And it just got to the point where he was just like, he'd had enough of all the nonsense, the sharks. He's been in the game. Like I said, they've been together since they were at school. He sent off for a first audition. So he's seen everything that you could possibly imagine. Doesn't have the patience for it anymore, and he's like, right, I'm going to stick to just dealing with the personal management, so traveling with mom to gigs, doing this sort of the music and all that kind of stuff. He said, you just take care of everything else. And then there's people that were coming across, and there's people that sort of, Jackie, we want to do this project with you, and they would use her name to open up doors within labels, get what they wanted out of a deal, and then just that's it. You wouldn't even get a return phone call or whatever.
Wow.
And so I'm thinking, what is going on? Or there's certain people that not even trying to find the information that I would stumble upon, and they'd be like, well, hold on a minute, what's going on with this album that Jackie's meant to be doing? I've put 200 300 grand in so far, and I've not even so much as heard one song. And I'm like, what? I'm like, we're being told that they're waiting on you to provide funds. And again, you don't even need this kind of money. But no, we're then finding out that people have gone and bought themselves a nice fancy new house and fancy new car. And my mum was always just sat there. I'm also writing my mum's, I'm ghost writing my mum's autobiography at the minute as well. That's one of the other hats. That's really hard. Out of everything I'm doing as well at the minute, I have to say the writing has to be the most sort of strenuous, because you just have to be in the right frame of mind. But yeah, I got to the point where you're dealing with all these people, they're using your mom's name, they're using your mom, and I just got bored of it. And I thought, you know what, I was sitting on some savings, and I'd sold one of my properties down in London, and it just got to the point that I thought, right, I'm gonna put an album together. I've got certain contacts and everything. I'm like, I don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds, I can't offer you what everyone else is offering. I said, but you can either just carry on going out and just, you know, doing the kind of gigs where you are now and staying at that level where, you know, 80s and soul gigs and 80s and soul, or we've got to, you know, we need to put something out there. I need to get some kind of material, a kind of press release, so that people can see that, hold on a minute, Jaki isn't just about the hits from the 80s and being that soul artist. She's still out there, still doing her thing. My mom's voice is more powerful now than what it's ever been, because she's never sort of stopped or retired or given it a rest. And obviously the voice is a muscle.
Yes.
So the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So we ended up doing an album of one of our sort of close friends, a grandfather to me, my Uncle Joe, passed. And my mom did a concert a number of years back with the BBC Big Band for Radio 2, where she did a couple of nights. One was Duke Ellington numbers, and do you know what? I can't remember the other night. Gershwin. She did a night of Gershwin and another one of Duke Ellington, and it went down an absolute storm. People had never heard my mom with a big band before, and she grew up listening. She was, you know, she grew up and raised on people like your Ella Fitzgerald, your Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington's. So, you know, when she lost her dad to cancer when she was very young, she was about 10. But that's one of her fondest memories. She always used to remember her dad singing those kind of songs and the jazz standards around the house. And my Uncle Joe, who passed, he saw her with at the BBC concert, and he was just like, Jaki, he said, I cannot believe, he said, your voice is made for that type of music. So it was almost like an homage to Uncle Joe, who passed. I said, right, if there's an album we're going to do, let's do For Sentimental Reasons. And I was actually trying to secure the rights to the recordings from that particular night. But again, the amount of money it costs to do that is just incredible, especially, you know, depending on some of the establishments as well that you're trying to secure the rights from. So I just said, right, okay. One of the MDs that she was working with at the time had a jazz background. Let's just see what treatments that, you know, that Wayne at the time could do. And yeah, so we put this album together. It's called For Sentimental Reasons. That was the first one I executive produced and put some sort of savings behind it. Again, learning curves as you go along, getting sort of distribution deals and licensing it out, because I needed the people that could actually, you know, press up the CDs and so on and so forth. And off the back of that, a few years later, I was like, right, okay, just funnily enough, through social media and Instagram, there's a couple of people that sort of connected. We're very good friends with a gentleman by the name of Michael Mcdonald, who is of sort of the Doobie Brothers. Michael Mcdonald on my own with Patti LaBelle. Keep forgetting. If you know Regulate, well, it's the Michael McDonald's. That's the song that was sampled. So Michael is an absolute legend, and again, with your US audience, they're going to be like, Michael McDonald. So that's Uncle Michael to me. I've known Michael since I was like about 5 years old.
Wow. Grew
Grew up with his kids, go and stay at theirs for the Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. And Michael's written for some of my mom's earlier albums when she was on EMI. My mom's also his special guest whenever he comes to the UK. She's one of his, or he's one of her sort of nearest and dearest friends. And I sort of, it was actually when I was with Michael at theirs in California and at the Super Bowl, and I was like, Michael, so have you got any songs for Mom? And he's like, well, Natalie, man, he's like, yeah, actually, I got a couple. And he's like, let me send you something, because and again, like I said, he loves Mom to pieces. And yeah, it's sort of the When a Woman Loves album, which the latest one that's the most recent one that I put together. Started off the back of a couple of the tracks that Michael sent across. He's ended up 3 songs from Michael are on this particular album. I've got a track from Eric Benet, who happens to be another friend of ours.
Wow.
And also a wonderful man. One of the tracks as well is from the late great Maurice White of Earth, Wind and Fire.
You're dropping some names here, Natalie.
Well, this is as an executive producer, I've sort of gone from for sentimental reasons, and then it's like, right, okay, well, I know people, and the good thing is, because my mom can actually sing, and she's a wonderful human being as well. She's an absolute diamond to work with, and I'm not just saying that because she's my mom. She is a joy to work with. Drives me mad. But yeah, very professional, very good at what she does. So you go to these people, and they're like, Natalie, of course, no problem. So it was just then a case of finding the right producer. Came across a certain people, came across a couple of people on Instagram who were massive fans. My mom's Heaven Knows album was sort of one of the first albums that they had, and that just literally that they almost learned, kind of broke their musical cherry to a certain extent. And they've sort of approached me, said, listen, I've seen that Jaki, I've seen all this stuff that's out on the social media that Jaki's got a new album coming. If there's any possibility that I can do a remix, let me know. Ended up working with a gentleman called LeFlex, and I was like, well, listen, it's funny that you messaged. I said, not only remixes, I said, but there's still an opening for a song or two. And that's when this gentleman LeFlex ended up writing When a Woman Loves and About Your Love as well, which actually got to #1 in the US independent soul charts.
Wow.
But yeah, so this whole thing sort of just, it ended up taking on a little bit of a life of its own. And so, as executive producer, I'm obviously putting the money into to sort of get it all done. Ended up funding the video for it as well, via our very, very good friend. I call him my Uncle D, who I stay with in the US, but he actually is the director that directed all my mom's main videos back in the day. I think he's done like 5 or 6 of her videos, did all of her sort of main poignant ones, and then he's actually done the video as well. I flew her out to LA. My mom hadn't seen him for over 20 years. They actually thought, they'd been told that around the time of actually when she was recording Ain't Nobody, for that she had the hit within the States. She had been told, they said, are there any directors that you want to work with? She said, if you can find me D. Trapman, he's great. And the label came back and said, oh, sorry, he's passed away. So for 20 odd years, we'd gone thinking that this man was no more. And then I got an email a few years back saying, oh, you probably won't remember me, Natalie, but my name's D. Trapman, and you used to help me doing the smoke machines on your mom's videos and blah, blah, blah. And I was just reminiscing, going through some stuff. And I went into my mom and dad one day and I said, why does the name D. Trapman ring a bell to me? And my mom was like, D, oh, God rest his soul, and blah, 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 blah. She said, D, and even my dad's like, D, he was a good guy, D, he was a good guy. And they said, that's the one that did all your mom's videos who died. And I went, well, he's not dead. And I've got my lip lapped to, I said, because he's just sent me an email. So because, like I said, I travel a lot to LA, ended up connecting with D, reconnecting. He's like an uncle and a best friend rolled into one. So whenever I'm stateside, that's who I stay with in Marina Del Rey. And then when it came to this particular album, D was just like, Natalie, you have to have a video to go with this. Let's get your mom out here. We'll work everything else out as we go. And even the DPs that he got involved are all people that have worked on some of the biggest music videos, or your Justin Biebers, all sorts of people. He pulled in some incredible people for this. And then, ended up flying my mom and dad out. She had, like I said, she hadn't seen D for over 25 years, in fact. And Dee put this wonderful video together, which I'm also in, which I was not expecting, because I don't really like having my picture taken. So he waited until I actually arrived in LA, and he's like, oh, by the way, Natalie, have I told you you're the leading lady in the video? I was like, no, that was not discussed. But I remember sitting on my drive in Wolves, and he was like, well, Natalie, it might be that I need to use you just to zoom in on some backing vocals, and we're just going to show the mouth, just the lips of you like singing. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, fine, I can do that as long as my face isn't in the picture. When I got out there, he's like, oh no, and so Jackie, we're going to go through your clothes, and then Natalie will go through what you've got. And I was like, well, what do you mean what I've got? I'm not. You've got this. That's all you need. I don't need clothes. He's like, oh no, you're the main guy in the video, main person in the video. I was like, no. But at the same time, I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't sit here and bottle it while I'm sort of pushing my mom constantly out of her comfort zone. And they're like, by the way, this is the leading guy alongside you in the video. So once I saw who it was, I was like, oh, okay then. If that's what he looks like, then I'm in. So I'm in this When a Woman Loves video. And then, got that done. Came back over here, and then it was a case of getting on the sort of the promotional train, the PR train, and put this video together that has topped the UK soul charts. Like I said, there's some incredible people that have written on it, and there's still so much. There's still so many people out there that don't know about this particular album, so there's still so much that I can do. But yeah, I am an executive producer of my mom's last 2 albums, and I'm quite proud of it as well. And I think, my mom was sitting there, sort of, she sits there and she's like, is my child this?
Yes.
And
you need.
Yeah, basically. But there's, like I said, because there's so many people that overpromise and underdeliver, and I just got fed up of seeing my mom having a broken heart and just constantly thinking, why does it always happen to me? Why do people use my name? Or just, why can't people just see that there's a big piece of pie, or there's a big pie that everybody can have a slice of? Why does it always have, that no one ever, they just leave her with a crumb? So that was sort of, my gift to my mom was like, right, okay, I'm going to put this album together, and I will continue to put albums together when I've got the budgets to do so. Then I'll continue to put some more material out, because she's, like I said, she's just an incredible talent. So yes, I am a businesswoman. So just from coordinating studio time, funding, the artwork, the licensing to the distribution deals, to the radio play, to securing whatever kind of TV slots and everything. I literally do it all, but not as well. I'm not a control freak. It's just the fact that there's so many people out there that either charge you so much when it comes to getting sort of people involved on sort of PR and everything, but again, overpromise, underdeliver. I haven't always had the budgets to be able to get the top people involved. So it's like, right, let me just delve into my little book of contacts that I've sort of gathered throughout the years, and sort of through my networking and ever, and just say, right, I'm calling in the troops. I need some help. Who's in?
This is it. So this is the plan. How can we get it done?
Exactly.
So distribution wise, I'm quite interested. Distributor. How was that conversation? Was that pretty easy to get sorted out? To find a reputable distributor who is going to be able to put them in the markets where they need to be put?
To be honest with you, the distributors, and this is something that I've learned as I've been going on, again, I'm learning as I go along, but the distributors, they don't really do the marketing. If you're getting a distribution deal, then it's completely different to having a deal at a record company where, you get an advance and they pay for this, they pay for that, they pay for all the marketing that comes with it. If you get a distribution deal, it's basically they're printing up your CDs and they're distributing it to your HMVs or, whatever kind of music stores it is that it's going to. I'm thinking that they did a lot more than what they actually do. Okay. And again, it's only at a later stage that I'm realizing, actually, I'm still responsible for doing all of this, which is why we've got our own sort of JNT label as well, JNT Music, because we are the label. I do it all. It's down to me to sort of get the strategy in place, to do the marketing. I've got a wonderful gentleman by the name of Neil, who's sort of my right-hand man and helps me to get a lot of stuff done. I'm like, right, Neil, we need to do this. He'll come to me with some ideas as well. And he's someone that I've known for over 10 years now, and started out, he was a fan of Mom's, and he just approached one day and said, why is someone like Jaki not out here doing more? And then we just had this connection again. Energy was right, and he's been part of the journey. But when it comes to the distribution, then no, you don't really need it. I went down the distribution route because I'm thinking the demographic of Mom's sort of fan base and core fan base from back in the day are those that will be they want the physical CDs. They want to be like my mom and be able to, I want to look at the booklet and see who wrote the songs and get the information. So that was purely because I'm thinking, well, yeah, her core audience is going to want to buy CDs. unbeknownst to me, I didn't need to go down that route. That is a lesson that I learned at a later stage, because again, even my mom's demographic nowadays, I mean, you buy a new car nowadays, then, and
I know.
I borrowed my friend's car not too long ago. We got him, my mom was coming out with all the different big CD packs and all this kind of stuff for the road, so she could listen to her Michaels and her Hall and Oates and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, Mom, his car doesn't have a CD player. And she's like, what do you mean there's no CD player? She said, no CD? I said, Mom, I said, cars don't have CD players nowadays. She's like, well, how am I supposed to listen to my CDs? I'm like, well, you're not going to be listening to them in this. I said, Mom, it all connects. It's Bluetooth.
Yeah.
You connect to the phone. You've got digital in the car. So I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, everyone's going to want a CD. No, everybody's streaming. Everybody's on their iTunes, their Apple Music,
and all that.
Spotify's, YouTube,
Yeah.
or is it Deezer's, Tidal's? And I'm just sitting there thinking, I put this deal in place and pressed up all these CDs, you mean, for no reason. So yeah, come Christmas now, I'm sat here, I've got in my dad's office, there's like about 5 boxes, there's about 1,000 CDs of When a Woman Loves. And it's like, well, Christmas presents, and there are people still have CD players in their house. So it's like, right, okay, well, let's get some personalized, I guess, signed Jackie Graham albums out there.
That's the thing that you need to be doing. That is limited edition, signed, physical CDs. That's the promotional value right there.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, everything's a learning curve. And like I said, on the distribution front, it's something that you don't really need nowadays. And I think that's, again, how the music industry has progressed. It's a completely different ball game. It's a completely different machine to what I used to see with Mom at EMI, and Avex is the other label that she was signed to in the 90s, the Japanese label. I think she was actually their first international sign-in. But you used to have your A&R department, you used to have your marketing department, you used to have so many different departments, whereas nowadays you don't need all of this. People are making music in their homes, and then from sort of sitting here making their own music, then boom, all you've got to do is just go to certain, whether it's your CD babies or whatever kind of sites it might be, and just boom, upload your music, say which platforms you want it on. Do you want it on all of the streaming sites? No. Do you want it all? Yes. Tick a box, make your payment of your £20 for the year or whatever it is. You can, unlimited uploads, and away you go. Your music is there for the taking. It's just about how you now market. If you're not in a position to have the budget to, like I said, to get the teams that can get you on all the big Graham Norton shows or This Mornings and sort of, this is obviously what we've got here in the UK. So yeah, it's using, sort of coming up with some kind of strategy to use the social media platforms to almost get something out there, plant a little seed almost in the hope that your fan base is then going to sort of distribute and share and filter it off for you.
That is definitely the plan. To wind down this very candid and open conversation, Mademoiselle.
I hope everything I'm saying is making sense. I'm hoping it's going to be interesting to some people.
No, it most definitely is. It most definitely is. And you've answered so many different questions. The label name, I think I've got a pretty good idea, but can you break down the acronym and the origins of that, the name of the label?
JNT Music.
Yes.
It's just Jaki, Natalie, Tony. Simple as. Me, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But there's no R. My poor little brother, Ryan. He's not part of the label, but he is a music man. So yeah, he's an artist in his own right. But that's the story for another day. It's just like, pull your finger out, Ryan. I'm sitting here giving all these little inspirational chats and saying, it's easy, get your music out there. And I've got one that sat here. It's just like, oh my gosh, Ryan, you are sitting on so much magic. But yeah, he's just Mr. Complacent.
Yes.
But like I said, that's a story for another day. So yeah, the letter R is not included in the label name. So yeah, Jaki, Natalie, Tony is what it stands for, JNT Music.
The grand procrastinator.
Yeah, listen, I know that we are all guilty of it in some ways, but at the same time, it's just, and especially when I see people with so much talent, I hate to see talent going to waste. So yeah, but I feel like I'm a broken record now. His friends, they're just like, Natalie, what is your brother? I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So it's, he's sort of, how old am I now? He is 20. Is he 29 this year. Is he 29 this year? 28, 29, one of the two. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's he's on his own path, he's on his own journey. So I'm not here to sort of bully people into doing things that they don't want to do. If he wants to do it, he'll do it when he's ready. But in the meantime, it doesn't stop me from doing what I do. And then as and when he is ready, then I'd like to think that he'll think, you know what, my sister kind of knows what she's doing, so he's in good hands. So, but yeah, that's we shall cross that bridge when we come to it.
Definitely. My very last two questions for you, Mademoiselle, is firstly, have you had fun?
What, in life or in the industry or what?
Today.
Oh, today, of course. Yes. Well, see, because you've been so philosophical and you've gone so deep. I didn't know how deep you were going with the fun, but no, completely. No, I feel very honoured as well that you've actually asked me to do this today, because I know when you first messaged me, I was like, well, I don't know what I've got to say. I don't know if I'm not particularly interesting. I'm just me. Nobody really knows who I am. But then I forget that now there's quite a lot of people who are listening to me on the radio, and I've got people sort of saying that I am someone who is of influence in my own way, and sort of a profile, and that people are listening to. So when you sort of kind of convinced me and said, Natalie, people are going to want to hear your story, then I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. But no, I've had a lot of fun. And like I said, I appreciate, if anything, you actually approaching me to do something like this. It makes a change, because normally I'm setting these things up for the likes of my mom to do, as opposed to sort of, I suppose, being under the spotlight myself. So it's a little bit strange, but no, it's been very enjoyable. So I have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And my very last one is, so we've gone, as you say, quite some different places. I know your name, so please tell me who you are without telling me your name.
Oh my gosh, that is a good question. I am a woman who wears my heart on my sleeve, and just wants to spread as much positivity and good feelings and love as much as possible in a world that right now is complicated for us all to try and navigate our way through. And if I can bring some kind of joy or warmth or enjoyment to just one person a day, then I've done my bit. I know that I can leave this earth a happy woman, and know that I've made a difference, even if it's just a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time today, and for your story.
No, well, thank you for having me.
You're very much welcome. Please do give all of your social media, and I will make sure I put all of the information in the description as well.
Okay. If people want to follow me,
yes,
then you can find me. Twitter and Instagram is simply at Natalie Graham 81. I've also got my website as well, which is www.nataliegraham.co.uk, or on Facebook, I am Natalie Graham Presenter. You can find me there.
Excellent. Thank you again for your time, and make sure you go over to the Instagram page and to the Twitter. If you're not already followed, follow, like, and interact with this interesting young lady.
Thank you.
If you're not already subscribed to the channel, CFR Network, please do like, comment, subscribe, and most definitely share.